In this section, we're going to be talking about nutrition, mostly related to the use of vitamins and minerals. To talk about nutrition, it's important to kind of define the group of, agents that we're going to be talking about as being those things that the body has to take in and use for as a source of food, but also a source of nutrient for the purposes of growth and repair of tissues. The nutrients are divided up into what we call the essential and the non-essential nutrients. Essential nutrients are those that are needed by the body for normal functioning, and then non-essential nutrients are those that can be synthesized by the body from other components, but may also be derived from the diet. So we need to think of those things that are essential nutrients as those things that we must take in our diet, and the non-essential nutrients being those things that our body does have the capability to synthesize from other building blocks that we take in. The 7 basic nutrients include proteins, fatty acids. Proteins are those things that the body uses as building blocks for cells, skin, muscle, tissue, things of that nature. The fatty acids are the lipids or the fats, are used by the body to burn for energy, but also fatty acids are used by the body to manufacture certain compounds that the body needs. So, for example, certain hormones that the body utilizes are manufactured from the fundamental structure of fatty acids. Carbohydrates are those things that we take in for the most part for the purposes of burning energy or calories. Fiber really serves the purpose of transporting and cleansing the GI tract. And then we'll talk a little bit more about vitamins, minerals, and maybe a little bit about water. The macronutrients are those things that the body takes in large amounts or large quantities. So think of things like calories and carbohydrates, fats, proteins, water. These are all things that the body takes in pretty high volume on a daily basis. In terms of energy, the macronutrients that we take in that the body can kind of burn for the purposes of energy are basically carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Fats will yield 9 kilocalories of energy per 1 gram consumed, so actually we get our biggest caloric bang for the buck from fats, whereas proteins and carbohydrates yield about half of that at about 4 kilocalories per gram. Typically the body is going to burn carbohydrates and fats. We really don't want our bodies burning proteins for energy. If our body, basically the hierarchy is going to be the body's going to burn carbohydrates first, going to burn fats second, and then proteins are going to be the last thing. And typically if the body's burning proteins, then we are in an extremely malnourished state. Because fats yield 9 kilocalories per energy, and actually more than twice the kilocalories of carbohydrates, this is the reason why our taste buds are so finely tuned to fats. So it's no coincidence that we enjoy fatty types of foods simply because they do have such a high yield to the body in terms of kilocalories per gram of nutrient. Then I'm not going to differentiate too much between the essential and non-essential amino acids. The essential amino acids are proteins or building blocks that cannot be synthesized by the body and therefore must be provided by the diet. Approximately 9 of the 20 amino acids are essential, and as a result have to be consumed in the daily diet to meet the needs of the body. There are also essential fatty acids. These are required in amounts equaling about 6 to 10% of the fat intake, and they do play a role in decreasing triglycerides level and the growth of plaque, which is basically deposits of fat that occur within our arteries, which are potentially dangerous to the body, causing stroke and heart attack. And then essential fatty acids are also used to make things like prostaglandins and thromboxanes, which are different types of drug products or compounds that the body uses to protect itself, but also to signal inflammation and pain. Different types of fatty acids. We have saturated and unsaturated. The saturated fatty acids are the ones that we hear a lot about trying to reduce in our diet, which come from dairy products and meats. These are denser, heavier fatty acids. Typically, they're going to be solid at room temperature, whereas the unsaturated fatty acids, which are thought to be more healthy, coming from vegetables, corn, soy, peanuts, these tend to be liquid at room temperature. Cholesterol is also a lipid found naturally in certain cell membranes and is also in high concentrations in animal muscles and organs, and is essential for certain types of cellular structures. We take in cholesterol, and when it's in excess can actually lead also to sclerotic plaques or deposits within the arteries of the body, leading to cardiovascular disease and potentially stroke. Carbohydrates provide about 2/3 of the daily energy needs and aid in the metabolism and help reserve proteins for use in repairing and building tissue. So the body prefers to burn carbohydrates so that proteins can be used to build muscle tissue, healing, strength, structures of the body. There are different types of carbohydrates. Basically, carbohydrates are sugar molecules, sometimes coming singly as an individual sugar molecule, but also complex carbohydrates, which are basically sugar molecules strung together. Simple sugars tend to come from things like fruits, vegetables, milk. Table sugar is a simple sugar. Complex carbohydrates are also come from grains, fruits, and vegetables. Complex carbohydrates are thought to be better for the body because they don't release the sugar as quickly. It takes the body some time to break the sugar components, sugar molecules apart for the purposes of making them available for energy, leading to less sugar spikes within the bloodstream and a more even-tempered access to carbohydrates and sugars throughout the day. Carbohydrates are stored in the body is glycogen, and then after glycogen is fat. We'll talk a little bit more about the role of glycogen, sugar, and insulin when we get to the session on the endocrine system. So we'll come back around to this in greater detail later in the semester. The central nervous system closely monitors the availability of blood glucose, and also is the most sensitive to blood glucose fluctuations. So the brain usually signals us pretty quickly when our carbohydrate and sugar levels are low. So you can probably attest to this when you skip a meal and you start to feel lightheaded and hungry, maybe a little bit sick, and that's because the brain is highly sensitive to low sugar levels and is actually one of the first organs to react to it. So when sugar is low, the brain begins the signaling process to us because without carbohydrates, actually brain damage and death can occur pretty quickly. Fiber is also a complex carbohydrate, but it's actually a form of a complex carbohydrate that the body cannot, or in humans, cannot digest or reduce to sugar. Animals that graze, for example, such as cows and horses, can break these types of complex carbohydrates down into energy, which is the reason why grazing animals get energy from grass, whereas humans cannot, because the type of carbohydrate structure cannot be broken down by humans. So these are basically remain in the GI tract as either soluble or insoluble fibers that basically transport other things through the GI tract and help to kind of keep the GI tract cleansed. Soluble fiber can absorb water. It is found in oats, fruits, and vegetables, whereas insoluble fibers, which cannot be absorbed by the body, are found in brands and whole wheat, brown rice, things of that nature, which basically provide a bulk for stools and help to stimulate the movement of things through the GI tract. The micronutrients, which we're going to spend a little bit more time on, are those things that the body uses in very small or trace amounts, but are needed by the body to perform the essential functions. Insufficiencies in micronutrients can actually cause problems with biochemical systems of the body, leading to different types of effects and side effects as well as disease. We're going to talk primarily about the different vitamins that are available. I like to think of vitamins, again, as things that the body uses in small quantities, but they're really essential to the body's functioning. The vitamins are divided up into what we call the water-soluble and the fat-soluble vitamins, and I do want you to know which of the vitamins are water-soluble and which of the vitamins are fat-soluble. So the fat-soluble vitamins include the vitamins A, D, E, and K, whereas the water-soluble vitamins include B and C vitamins. So again, water-soluble are going to be all the B and C vitamins, whereas the fat-solubles are going to be A, D, E, and K. This means that the fat-soluble vitamins, when taken in, are going to tend to gravitate towards fatty tissue. This also means that the water-soluble vitamins are going to tend to pass right through us into the urine. So taking excessive water-soluble vitamins doesn't really provide any benefit to the body, so taking excessive doses of vitamin B or excessive doses of vitamin C don't really provide any benefit to the body, since these vitamins are water-soluble, and you're just going to excrete them out in the urine. Vitamins such as A, D, E, and K, because they're taken up by the fat tissue of the body, can accumulate in the body when taken in excessive doses. We're going to go through each of these vitamins individually, but these tables are just meant to point out the names and the lists of there are different vitamins. In this table here, we see a number of the different B vitamins, which include thiamine, riboflavin, which are B1 and B2, B3, which is nicotinamide or niacin, B5, which is pantothenic acid, B6, which is pyridoxine. You might notice that among the B vitamins, when there are deficiencies in the body, they're going to tend to manifest with side effects that either include the central nervous system or different effects within the nervous system, coordination, as well as maintenance of tissues of the body such as skin, mucosal linings, collagen, things of that nature. Some additional B vitamins include B7, which is biotin, B9, which is folic acid or folate, and B12, which is cyanocobalamin or cobalamin. Also, we have in this chart vitamin C, which is ascorbic acid found in fruits as well. So let's go through the different vitamins. The first is vitamin B1, which is thiamine. Again, a B vitamin here, which comes from sources such as whole grain, lean meats, fish, soybeans, other types of beans. Vitamin B1 or thiamine is important in carbohydrate metabolism, so B1 helps us to regulate how the body uses carbohydrates. Deficiencies in vitamin B1 can lead to cardiovascular problems as well as neurologic symptoms. B2, which is riboflavin, comes from dairy, yeast products as well as liver, animal livers that we consume. It is also important in the metabolism of carbohydrates, but also involved in the metabolism of fats and proteins. Deficiencies can lead to problems with the skin. Seborrheic dermatitis really just has to do with a skin disorder that is caused by abnormal fat or fatty-like substances, seborrhea, that the skin secretes. There aren't known dangers for excessive consumption of B2, but again, because it's a water-soluble vitamin, it's going to pass into the urine pretty quickly. Vitamin B3, which is nicotinamide or niacin, also comes from liver and yeast products, but also from whole grain fish and peanuts. So you're kind of seeing some common denominators here in terms of the sources of B vitamins. Large doses of niacin are thought to help to regulate cholesterol and triglycerides, which is why nicotinamide or niacin is used as a treatment for high cholesterol, although there's been some recent studies which have called its value in question in terms of lowering or bad cholesterol or raising good cholesterol, but the predominant thinking is still that niacin is helpful in controlling cholesterol. Deficiencies lead to dementia, again, which would be a central nervous system problem, as well as dermatitis, which would be a problem of the skin. So once again, the B vitamins are involved in maintenance of the central nervous system as well as the skin. And toxicity with B3 can lead to lowering of blood pressure as well as additional skin problems. There are two types of cholesterol in the body, which we'll talk about when we get to that segment this semester, which is the bad cholesterol, which is LDL, and the good cholesterol, which is HDL. And so high doses of niacin are thought to decrease blood levels of LDL, which are the bad cholesterol, and increase the amount of HDL or high density or the good cholesterol in the body. And basically what good cholesterol does is it picks up the bad cholesterol in the bloodstream and takes it to the liver to be excreted into the GI tract. So niacin is still being used for managing cholesterol. Again, a recent study was published calling into question this thinking a little bit, but again, for the time being, we're going to keep niacin classified as something that has an effect on cholesterol. B5, which is pantothenic acid, also comes from whole grain legumes, which are kind of nut-like plants, meats, as well as eggs. And deficiencies of pantothenic acid are rare since it's used in small amounts by the body. Vitamin B6, which is pyridoxine, also comes from animal and plant products. It is used to help prevent nerve problems in individuals who are taking certain types of drugs for tuberculosis. Deficiencies of B6 are somewhat rare, but again would manifest as symptoms of the central nervous system as well. And then biotin, which is also available in foods, are widely available in a number of different types of foods. Again, toxicities, a toxicity profile of biotin is not really completely known at this point in time, since it's used by the body in very, very small quantities and available in many different types of foods. Then folic acid or folate comes from dark green leafy vegetables. It is important and aids in the creation of DNA, which is the building blocks or blueprints that exist in all your cells. It is essential to hemoglobin formation, which is what carries oxygen in your bloodstream, as well as amino acid synthesis, which is important for building tissues of the body. It would make sense because it's involved in so much of the body building that it would be something that we would want to supplement in a pregnant female. So perinatal vitamins are vitamins that are fortified with folic acid, which is an important vitamin to a developing pregnancy or developing fetus in a woman. And then cobalamin or cyanocobalamin B12 comes from fish, dairy, organ meats such as liver as well as eggs. Helps promote normal cell function as well as blood formation and nerve cell function. So again, B12 deficiencies would manifest themselves with problems of the skin as well as nerve cell function. Mostly, again, nerve cell function. And then choline, again, sources from milk, eggs, liver, and peanuts. It is needed to produce the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which is used by the brain to help with memory as well as with muscle control, muscle function. So deficiency in choline can lead to Huntington's and Parkinson's, and has been linked potentially to Alzheimer's disease. So again, 3 fairly significant diseases of the central nervous system. So, just again to summarize the B vitamins, it is important to realize that the B vitamins are involved in the maintenance of the central nervous system, as well as in maintenance of the skin and connective tissues of the body. These are vitamins that come from a pretty wide source of foods and categories of dairy, meat, eggs, nuts, things of that nature. B vitamin is oftentimes supplemented in individuals who come into the emergency department with alcoholism, because with alcoholism, typically the person is giving off a lot of body fluid, and with it usually are going to travel these water-soluble vitamins. So individuals who present with alcoholism in the emergency department are typically going to be given some doses of vitamins, so it can be determined withdrawal symptoms, which can include tremors, and separate those from the tremors that could occur from having B vitamin deficiencies in these individuals as well. Vitamin C, which comes from different types of fruits as well as citrus fruits, is important in the body's healing, tissue repair, and fighting off of infections. So this is really where we connect vitamin C with, or taking vitamin C to help alleviate the problems that come from a cold or the flu. It's also an antioxidant, which helps to reduce the risk of cancer. vitamin C, vitamin C's connectivity to the immune system is pretty significant and pretty solid. One of the things to note about taking vitamin C for things like the cold and the flu, though, is that you really need to be taking them to help to build up and maintain the immune system. So it's better to be taking vitamin C during the cold season on an ongoing basis and not just waiting for when the cold occurs. By the time the cold gets there, taking vitamin C is a little bit late, and so you won't see as much of effect from taking vitamin C after the cold has begun as opposed to taking it throughout the cold and flu season. So now we're going to move on to the fat-soluble vitamins, which include vitamin A, D, E, and K. Vitamin A is also called retinol. Retinol, or vitamin A, is found in fish liver oils, in butter, in egg yolks, and in liver. Most milk is fortified with vitamin A, which means that when manufacturers are kind of pasteurizing and packaging the milk, they're actually going to add vitamin A to it. That's what we mean by fortified. So when something is fortified, it means that we have artificially added something to it. So milk is fortified with vitamin A, or meaning it's added to it. Vitamin A is useful in maintenance of the skeletal system, soft tissue, also involved in vision as well, which really is where the name comes from. Retinol, or which is derived from the word retina, which is the back portion of the eye that processes the images that we see. Mild deficiencies in vitamin A can lead to night blindness, and so the different sensors that the retina uses to detect low light and color can be affected by deficiencies in vitamin A, leading to night blindness, which means that those cells that are picking up low levels of light lose their ability to do so, and so the ability to see in low light at night is compromised, leading to night blindness. And vitamin A deficiency is the number one cause of blindness in children worldwide, which is the reason why many hospitals will supplement vitamin A in the first few days of life in an infant in case they're born with a vitamin A deficiency or have a continued nutritional deficiency in vitamin A. Next is vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 comes from yeast and fish liver oils. Now, when you take in vitamin D, there are actually different forms of vitamin D: D1, D2, D3, and the vitamin D that you consume when you take a vitamin or something that says it has vitamin D in it is the unactivated form of vitamin D. So most of the vitamin D that we consume is actually useless to the body. It has to be converted from vitamin D1 to D2 and then from vitamin D2 to D3. Vitamin D3 is what the body uses in conjunction with calcium to help build bone. So for your body to maintain good bone structure, you need a combination of vitamin D3 and calcium in your diet. But the vitamin D that we take in is not the activated form. It's vitamin D1 and is, for the most part, useless to the body unless it's activated. Now, the way that vitamin D is activated in the body is by sunlight. So when we are exposed to the sun, the UV radiation travels through the skin and converts the vitamin D to vitamin D3 so that it can be used by the body. Because of this, many of us that live in the northern hemisphere, northern states in the United States, actually have vitamin D deficiencies because of the lack of exposure to sunlight, because of the cloudy days, winter, and also during the cold season we're covered up in clothes, and there's not enough skin exposure so that even if we get out in the sunlight, that vitamin D can be activated. So if you do take vitamin D supplementation, it's best to just supplement with vitamin D3. If you go to the pharmacy and you buy vitamin D, you can see that you can buy vitamin D3 tablets, and that way you save the problem of having to take vitamin D and hope that you get enough sunlight to activate it to the D3 product. Deficiencies in vitamin D can lead to rickets, which is kind of a bow-leggedness, so where the leg bones are weakened and kind of bow out because they don't get hardened by the combination of vitamin D3 and calcium, as well as osteoporosis, which is porous bone formation because, again, not enough calcium substructure in the bone. Vitamin E, which comes from vegetable oils, nuts, also it's fortified in a number of cereals, meaning, again, it's added to many of the breakfast cereals. Helps to protect red blood cells, which transport oxygen around, and deficiencies can occur in premature infants, particularly those that have missed the final 1 to 2 months of gestation. So again, in neonates, it is common for us to supplement them with vitamin A as well as vitamin E because of the potential for this deficiency. Deficiencies in vitamin E can lead to nerve damage, and that can affect the person's ability to have coordination. Physical activity also can affect vision. Vitamin K, or phytoquinone, comes from green leafy vegetables. The darker the better. So darker green leafy vegetables tend to have more vitamin K. Vitamin K is integrally involved in blood clotting as well as bone development. So vitamin K deficiencies are actually somewhat rare, but if they would occur, they would probably manifest as some type of clotting problem. Vitamin K can be administered intravenously, so individuals who have a deficiency of it, or sometimes a neonatal, to prevent hemorrhaging, can be administered vitamin K. So moving on to minerals and the relationship between minerals and vitamins, we talked a little bit about the relationship that exists between vitamin D and calcium. It's important that you remember that the body needs the combination of both calcium and vitamin D3 to help build bone structure. So proper dosages of vitamins, normally I think the best approach to take is to eat a well-rounded diet that includes fruits and vegetables, leafy vegetables, some meats as well, to really cover the cross-section of things that can be taken in to provide vitamins to the body. Of course, supplementing with a multivitamin of some type on a daily basis is a good idea, particularly with many of the different types of processed foods that we have, and fad dieting that occurs in the United States can lead to a number of different types of vitamin deficiencies. I'm going to move on to the minerals now, which are going to be sort of the trace metals that are and salts that are taken in by the body to help keep physiologic processes going. The calcium is one of the largest of the minerals that's taken in by the body. Sources of calcium come from milks and cheeses, again, whole grains, leafy vegetables, fish like salmon. Calcium is necessary for bone formation. It's also essential for nerve conduction, or really the transmission of information from nerve to nerve and from nerve to muscle tissue. Its absorption is dependent upon vitamin D3, so calcium and vitamin D3 need to be in the body in sufficient combinations for either one to be effective. Deficiencies in calcium, of course, can lead to those things that come from softened bone, such as rickets or kind of a bow-leggedness, as well as osteoporosis, which is an increased porosity of the bone within the body. Excessive consumption of calcium can also lead to constipation, nausea and vomiting, kidney stones as well. So Tums, for example, which contain calcium carbonate, can serve as a source of calcium, but it's also important to realize that calcium taken by itself can be somewhat constipating. Phosphorus is another element which the body uses. Actually, phosphorus is also used in bone structure as well. Sources are milk, cheese, nuts, beef, fish, pork. It's needed for bone formation and tooth formation, as well as utilization of energy and storage of fats as well. Deficiencies in phosphorus can lead to anemias as well as bone brittleness. Sodium, which is available in table salt, is needed to maintain body fluids. We're going to talk a little bit about this in the upcoming weeks when we talk about blood pressure or maintaining proper body's blood pressure. So as sodium goes, so goes water, I guess is the best way to think about it. So when you take in excessive amounts of sodium, then your body's going to retain water. And when your body is low in sodium, your body is going to be low in water. So sodium is essential to maintaining proper body fluid balance. Deficiencies in sodium can lead to many different types of problems, including confusion, weakness, muscle spasms, low blood pressure, and actually death. And toxicities can lead to excessive water accumulation in the body, which can lead to high blood pressure and edema. Potassium. Potassium comes from, or can be supplemented to the body in oranges, bananas, different types of red meats and vegetables, milk products. It helps to maintain normal muscle and cardiac function. So potassium is important to the beating of the heart, but also to the contraction of the muscles of the body. And that's the reason why sports drinks almost across the board contain potassium in them. Because for athletes, when they're exerting and sweating during a sporting event, then the body's giving off fluid and giving off potassium and sodium along with it. And when the body gives off too much potassium, it leads to cramping. So during athletic sports, when you see a football player, a basketball player, a soccer player kind of cramping up on the sidelines, then it's probably due to not properly hydrating, but also not properly hydrating with some type of drink that contains potassium. So when the muscles can't contract properly, it leads to cramping, muscle cramping. Excessive intake of potassium is also dangerous. Can lead, both high potassium and low potassium can lead to cardiac arrhythmias, as well as cardiac arrest and death. Chlorine is an element that is available to the body in a table salt. It's the other half of salt. So anytime you ingest salt, you're getting sodium chloride or chlorine. Chloride or chlorine is important to maintaining the acid-base pH of the body. So pH balance is maintained by, or helped being maintained by chlorine. There's actually other things that maintain it, CO2, etc., but chlorine's involved in there as well. Iron. Iron comes from meats, eggs, vegetables, and cereals. It is essential to the synthesis of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the molecule that's inside the red blood cells that transports oxygen. So no iron, no hemoglobin. No hemoglobin, no red blood cell transport of oxygen. No oxygen transportation, then you develop anemia. So iron is linked to anemia, red blood cells, and oxygen transport in the bloodstream. It is actually very difficult to supplement because pharmaceutical preparations of iron are difficult to make and difficult to get transported into the body. So it really is best to make sure that you maintain your iron through normal diet, since it's so difficult to supplement it with an external source of direct iron, such as tablets or capsules. Iron toxicity is extremely dangerous, so it's important to keep iron supplements away from children because it can lead to poisoning and death in children very, very quickly. Iodine, when we talk about the endocrine system, we'll talk about the thyroid and how the thyroid is used to help maintain metabolism of the body. The metabolism of the body is therefore regulated by iodine, since iodine is used by the thyroid to make the hormones that signal metabolism. So iodine is supplemented in our diet through iodized salt. So the salt that you buy at the grocery store that has on the label iodized means that iodine has been added to the salt by the salt industry to help to make sure that everyone receives a proper amount of iodine. Deficiencies in iodine can lead to goiter, which is a swelling of the thyroid, which leads to intense, very large, kind of almost looks like a tumor-like mass around the throat. And that's called a goiter, which is actually a swelling. It's not actually a tumor because it's actually a swelling of the thyroid. And so when iodized salt was brought into the marketplace, we saw a large reduction in the number of goiters that were occurring due to healthier thyroid function among the U.S. population. Zinc, which comes from meat, is important during growth periods. Deficiencies can lead to problems with wound healing, physical development, as well as development of central nervous system, as well as skin and hair. Excessive intake can cause problems with copper absorption and lead to nausea and vomiting, as well as decreased immune function. So because zinc is involved in the immune system, this is really where the zinc products that are used for the cold come from. So there's a number of products that have kind of sprung up. Zicam is an example of a zinc supplementation product which is used for the cold as an immune stimulant. Fluoride, which is added in city water to prevent to strengthen teeth and prevent tooth decay. Fluoride comes from fish and certain types of teas. Also helps the teeth's ability to withstand bacterial erosion or cavities. That's why we see it in toothpaste and supplementation in city water. Copper, which comes from organ meats like liver, seafood, nuts, legumes, etc., aids in energy production and hemoglobin synthesis. Hemoglobin, again, is involved in transporting oxygen in the body. Deficiencies of copper are quite rare, but increased intake is recommended for women during pregnancy and lactation. I just want to close with a handful of off the beaten path kind of topics that relate to nutrition. I want to start with some of the energy drinks. So Red Bull, for example. So Red Bull contains one of the things it contains is taurine. So if we look back at the label here, we can see the labeling is a little bit incomplete sometimes in places, but you can see carbonated water, sucrose, glucose, taurine, glucuronolactone, caffeine, etc. So I want to go over a couple of these products that are in the marketplace these days. So taurine is found in a number of different energy drinks, including Red Bull. It's actually an amino acid that's found in meat and fish, so we actually take in taurine in a normal diet. And basically, there was a study done that compared caffeine, taurine, and glucose to see if taurine had a significant impact on psychomotor functioning. And what they found is that the taurine had no significant effect in this study on psychomotor functioning. And actually, in this one study, they thought it actually opposed the effects of caffeine. But the problem with that study was that they had taken individuals that were drinking caffeine and took them off of it. So they think it was a college-age students, and they brought them into the study. And then the group that was taking taurine with no caffeine went cold turkey on their caffeine. So that probably wasn't a good study design because those individuals were kind of suffering from caffeine withdrawal. So in another study, caffeine levels were maintained across all subjects with the study group being supplemented with taurine. And what they did was they measured attention, memory, mood, verbal reasoning, and spatial reasoning in this study. What they did find that attention and verbal reasoning were positively affected in the taurine group. Again, a small study, so I don't know that this is really conclusive information, but provides some information on the role that taurine might play in cognitive functioning. As for the glucuronolactone also present in energy drinks. It is actually normally present in the body since it's a metabolite of glucose. So when we metabolize carbohydrates, our body manufactures glucuronolactone. So our body actually has plenty of this. It is present in most of our connective tissue. It is claimed in sports drink to be an energy booster as well as a detoxicant, but there's actually no evidence to support. There's never been any evidence to support that glucuronolactone is any type of energy booster. Next, I want to move on to a diet product, which is getting a lot of infomercials these days, is lipozene. Lipozene contains glucomannan. I'm sorry, it took me a minute to pronounce that. Glucomannan, which is present in lipozene. This drug has actually been shown to lower cholesterol and LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. 2 studies have shown no significant effect on weight in obese individuals, and 2 other studies have not shown any effect as well. So there's not a lot of evidence to say that lipozene is going to be useful at reducing weight. It may be effective at lowering cholesterol, but there hasn't really been any good evidence to show that there's a value to this agent as a diet aid. Then the next one to talk about is Sensa. Sensa is that's the product that you shake onto food by any kind of a shaker. It has the shake, shake, shake commercials that are on television. Actually, Sensa is actually simply just a spice blend. It does not contain any drug products of any type. Basically, it has a mixture of different spices and flavorings to include basically the savory and sweet side. So on the savory side, it has flavorings of cheddar cheese, onion, horseradish, ranch dressing, taco, and Parmesan cheese. And on the sweet side, it also includes cocoa, spearmint, banana, strawberry, raspberry, and malt. And so basically the idea of Sensa is that you shake it on the food, and then the different flavorings will cause the brain to believe that it is satisfied, or that it has taken in a larger meal, sort of trying to fool the brain and reduce appetite. So it's basically just a spice blend. Nothing really pharmacologically meaningful there to reducing weight. And then for athletic enhancement, there have been some bitter orange products that have been circulated as kind of natural athletic enhancements. And caution really needs to be exercised with the bitter orange products in athletics, because these actually are ephedra containing substances, which is Sudafed, basically a mild stimulant, which would mean that if there's any blood testing being done, that bitter orange would actually probably trigger a positive doping test. So, but they're being touted as kind of natural stimulants or natural athletic enhancements. But they do have a pharmacologic stimulant in them that has been linked to stroke, heart attack, and death. DMAA, dimethylamine. This is a stimulant product found in some products that are sold as Jack 3D or some nitric oxide workout supplements. This is actually a stimulant which is naturally found in rose geranium oil, and it is a stimulant and actually can cause a positive urine test on amphetamine. Then creatine, which is used as a weightlifting supplement and a training supplement. It is a natural component of skeletal muscle, which helps to maintain equilibrium of what's called ATP, which actually muscles use for energy burst. So creatine has been shown that it might be involved in pre-muscle cell development and growth. So there is some evidence to show that creatine supplementation may be beneficial under certain training regimens, but typically it's only shown value when accompanying certain types of training regimens. By itself, it doesn't seem to produce any muscle development, and can also lead to water retention, which may be part of the gains that some individuals see. It has been shown to improve performance for individuals that do short burst types of activities, so sprinting, lifting. Sprinters and lifters can have seen some benefit from creatine supplementation, but there's been no effect shown in endurance sports, so long distance running, any type of sport that involves endurance over time, bicycling, things like that, have not shown any athletic enhancements.